I would remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded by hand and with our secretary, as well as this Zoom meeting will be archived as part of the record of the meeting. I hope you all bear with us. This is the first Zoom meeting we have had, and I can see we're all looking good. Is there anything to come before the Conservation Commission this evening that's not on the agenda?
Hey, Dave.
Yes,
Dave, can you hear me?
yes, Chris.
Yeah, I just, one of our former commissioners, as you know, Mark Grant, passed away recently, and I just wondered if we could have a moment of silence in memory of Mark. I remember he served with at least you and I for sure, and maybe some of the other commissioners in the past. So
Yeah, Mark was on the Conservation Commission in the maybe 10 years or so ago. He was 62 when he passed away, which is unfortunate. He was a good member of the Conservation Commission. So Chris, you're absolutely right. Let's have a moment of silence for Mark. Thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 6 to 24 to 30 Second Lane. Known as an ANRAD, I would remind everyone that the purpose of an ANRAD is to delineate where the wetlands are on the property. It is not to determine what is going on the property or what activity will occur. That would if the applicant wants to go ahead, that would come at a later point. Is the applicant here?
I believe this is Russ Waldron at Applied Ecological Sciences. I'm representing the applicants, which is Larkin Real Estate Group.
Okay, we have a map. Chris,
Dave,
Chris, you want to read the notice?
yes. Let me do the legal notice then. Mr. Chairman, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, the Town of Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public hearing on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. to consider the following application. A abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Michael Larkin. The applicant wishes to determine wetland boundaries and buffer zones at 6 and 24 through 30 Second Lane. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think all the commission members have a plot plan of the specific piece of land that's on Hart Pond. Do you all have that? So Mr. Waldron, do you want to just take us through this? We also have available the town's GIS map as well.
Sure thing. So I flagged the site back in November, and I went back in January to flag a small isolated wetland that I missed. So basically it's BDW and bank, and then the upland wetland boundary to the isolated wetland, which is behind the, I'll get my directions correct.
I can't hear anything right now.
Yeah, so it was very straightforward. The BDW is at the toe of a very distinct slope. As you can see by the contour lines, it kind of bumped over to the east as it came around to the east and got, actually, I think it pulled in a corner of an existing shed. I pulled it out that way on the soils. And then it just connected to the bank of the pond. And flag, it only goes up to flag 12 along the bank, but there is a flag 13. It just didn't get on here. And then the small IVW is off to the east there behind, I forget which number building that is. It says existing dwelling to be raised. And there's looks like a corner of it catches the subject property. Most of it is off-site. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it was really straightforward delineation, very easy.
Mr. Walter, this is Dave McLaughlin. The topography of the lot is from roughly 200 feet or 210 feet down to the water line. Is 210 feet the highest spot on the lot?
I don't know. The lot's pretty long.
Okay.
No, it keeps climbing towards the road up back towards.
Are there any isolated wetlands on adjoining properties?
That was the only one I found. And
Okay.
it was actually the surveyors that notified me. They thought I had missed one. And
Okay, on the town's GIS, it denotes wetland in the lower right-hand corner of the lot that abuts the Hart Pond itself. I didn't see it on your map. Have you looked at the town GIS?
I don't think I did.
Well, I think you want to do that because we need to determine whether or not that wetland actually exists. I mean, the town GIS maps can be a little old, but we would want to know what's in that right-hand corner before you proceed.
So is that the corner down at the pond?
The corner down at Hart Pond. Hey, Katie, what is this screen that I got in front of me?
Yeah, what is that?
It says documents library. Can we get rid of that?
You don't see a plan.
No, I see. No, maybe I should check. No, wait a minute.
That should be the plan for Second Lane.
Yeah, which one?
No, Katie, we're seeing your documents library. I'm not seeing your other screen.
Now, yeah, my screen sharing hasn't been working, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I think what you're talking about is the BVW that I flagged. When I first got down there, so I walked all the way down through the upland that was just off-site.
Can you see it now? Sorry.
Yeah, can I move it? No, I can't. I'm talking at the side, the plot plan on the lower left. I'm talking about the right-hand corner down by Hart Pond, right down, yeah, right down in here. You can see there's a wetlands there, I think.
No, there isn't one. No, I looked at that. That's all upland from the Parkerville Road right down to my flags. It's all
Okay.
pine forest.
So-
No, it's not. It's not.
Hold on for a minute, ma'am. I'll ask you for your comments. The town GIS says this area down here is wet.
Yeah, it is not. I looked at that. the
Katie,
soils.
have you been out there at all? Katie, have you been out there?
I have not.
Okay,
yet.
maybe, all right, let me go around the room with the commissioners first. Carl, you got any comments or questions?
Not specifically, no.
Okay, Mark Gibbs?
No, I just question the same thing on the, looking at it would probably be the easterly side of the property, east.
Yeah.
And I can't read the map because it's too small. I don't know if those delineate up or down when you was talking about, Dave.
Yeah, this area here, can you see my arrow or not?
Well, this is,
There we go.
I'm zooming in a bit.
Yeah. This area here, right where it says Baptist Pond,
right,
on the town GIS is wetlands.
right.
So I think we need to understand that. Billy Vines, do you have any comments or questions?
I think we should take a site walk, Dave.
Okay,
Take a look at it.
Chris Garahan?
Yeah, Dave, I noticed that our agent Katie has some comments that the
Yep.
30-foot buffer was not shown, line was not shown on the plan, nor was the flood zone shown on the plan.
Okay. Chris Kamula?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement. I mean, Katie, you haven't been out there, right?
No, I haven't.
Right. So, I mean, I think we should at least do a site walk and or have Katie
Okay,
take a look at it.
So Billy's suggesting we have a site walk. I think that's a good idea. The good time to have a site walk is, well, we'll figure out when's the night. But let me open it up to are there any comments about conservation matters? And that would really be, are there any wetlands on the site that you believe are different from what we're being presented with, other than the one we've just been discussing? Ms. Rivard, do you want to add anything? You started to speak and I kind of shut you.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you could hear me. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm new at this.
So,
as
hey,
everyone is.
we all are.
Well, I'm Pam Rivard. I live on First Lane, so I'm the abutter on the side where you were questioning whether there was wetlands in there. There definitely is between us a big piece of wetlands delineated on that map. But I was told I could ask these questions. So my first question is the report.
Ma'am, only if they pertain to the jurisdiction and the regulations under the Conservation Commission, not to do with any planning issues.
Yeah. So Mr. Waldron did this report on 2 lots, right? Number 6, which is out on Parkerville Road, that's a ½ acre. And then the second parcel was 24 to 30.
Right.
I know Mr. Larkin has a deposit on the 24 to 30, but I don't know why the 6 was included in the study.
Well, remember what the applicant is asking the Conservation Commission is for us to rule on what he has presented to us as to where the wetlands are. That's all.
So anyone can ask for this site on anybody else's property? You don't have to have a connection to it?
Good, yeah. I work for a company called Fox.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't hear who's speaking.
What?
Have you seen our trucks or heard what we're doing right now?
My name is Mike McTagg. I don't know if I'm supposed to speak now or not.
Well, you are. Go ahead.
This is in regards to some dead trees up on the end of Bridge Street.
No.
This is Second Lane.
Time out, everybody. The question that Ms. Rivard is asking is are both pieces of property, do they both apply to this ANRAD request? And independent of ownership, there can be an ANRAD determination on a piece of land, and that's what we will rule on. It has nothing to do with what's going in there. It just says when and if someone comes before us, that's the wetland. So nothing more will transpire other than us saying this area here is wetlands, and therefore that's our jurisdiction.
So I read the whole wetlands report prepared by Mr. Waldron. I read the whole report. Should I assume that all his findings and observations pertain to the 2 lots as a whole? Or my question is, if they were considered separately, would the results be different?
I don't know that, but he is asking us, or the applicant is asking us to determine on the lot 6 and the lots 24 to 30. What is the area of resource delineation?
Mm-hmm.
So, and whether they're separate or whether they're together is not important.
So it's not going to be important the proportion of wetlands to lot size or his descriptions, so he describes it as generally flat,
there are
lightly forested.
Okay, there are regulations that say what percentage of a lot must be dry.
Mm-hmm.
So we will look at whatever the lot is that's presented in the future. Okay. If he decides to build on it, we will look and say what percentage of that lot in fact is dry. And that will be based on the ANRAD determination.
So that isn't on the board for tonight.
No,
Because if you look at percentage of wetlands on the 2 lots, it's going to be a lot less than if you look at the lot he's actually got his deposit on, which is 24 to 30.
well, it has,
That was my point.
okay.
Okay.
We will determine the wetland, I'm sorry, Katie?
Hey, Dave,
Yes,
we don't actually have jurisdiction over lot division. That's planning and
That's plan.
zoning. So we're strictly just looking at what wetlands are there, basically. We
So
don't control the 80% upland
no.
determination. That's planning, I believe.
Yeah.
So here,
So we're just looking at what was delineated.
Okay. Let me go on to another point then. When this report was made and all the charts were made and everything, it was based on Mr. Waldron's observation, visual inspection, and interpretation of soil characteristics and various indications of surface hydrology. My concern is that those observations and inspections were made on 2 dates, November 8th last year and January 16th of this year, both winter seasons. And according to his report, under the section headed hydrology, those observations and inspections can be impacted by several factors, one of which is the season in which it was done. And by the report, it recommends that some observations need to be made in more than one season. So I'm concerned that all his observations, where I'm sure are accurate, that I have no reason to question his talents in this area, but they were both made in winter months. And there's, as we all know, living in New England, there's very little vegetation out there. So my question was, in this case, or in any case in New England, wouldn't the observation and inspections, would they yield the same result in the spring, summer, and fall?
they should.
They should yield the same results?
Yeah, because the soil conditions don't change because of the weather.
But a lot is based on observations of vegetation, right?
But we'll,
According to-
all right, remember, we will take a site walk. We'll
Mhm.
set a date and we'll go out and we'll take a look at it. We'll ask our conservation agent to confirm or disagree with what Mr. Waldron is proposing. If we need to get expert counter argument, we will.
Okay.
Okay. Hey guys, when would you want to do a site walk? We can do it late in the evening some night because it's still light. Has anyone got a preference? How about next Monday night? When's your golf night, Mark?
I'm not playing golf this year.
All right, okay. You want to do it on the 29th?
Sure.
What time should we meet out there? Mr. Waldron, is that good for you?
You bet.
Good for us.
You want to do it 6 o'clock, 5:30?
6 o'clock's good.
Okay, 6 o'clock on the 29th, we'll do a site walk. And and I take it we can meet out at Parkerville Road and then walk or drive in?
That's correct.
So why don't we meet at Parkerville and then decide what we're gonna do?
I have one more question and then I will be quiet.
All
I'll
right.
try to be quiet. So, my concern about all of the inspections being done in the winter is there is one point in his report that he points out a wetland basin. And I believe you referred to it, somebody referred to it briefly as, well, it's mostly on another lot, but it is right behind. I don't know the numbers of the houses too. But it is a small wetlands basin, and everyone who's ever lived there or owned the property has reported that as flooding every year. But it doesn't flood in the winter. It floods in the spring and the summer.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that basin is going to be protected as a wetlands, because on the map, the site plan, there are no wetlands, disturbed zone, buffer zone delineated for that basin. as of now? And will it be subject to the wetland setbacks?
Because it floods, it does not necessarily mean it is wetland. So we'll have,
He described it as a wetland
I
basin in his
understand,
report.
but it may not meet the technical definition of wetlands. And remember, our jurisdiction is within 100 feet of the wetlands that we have jurisdiction. So that's why we need to understand where the wetland area is. That
Right.
doesn't mean he can't build up to the wetlands. He can't build in the wetlands. You're correct. All right.
So what you're saying is part of your job is to either label that basin part of the wetlands or not. It doesn't meet the criterion.
That's part of the ANRAD determination.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to have a site walk on Monday, June 29th? At what time did we say, guys?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
So moved, Dave.
Moved by Chris. Is there a second?
Second.
Do a roll call.
Okay, well, when we vote, we will, but do we need a roll call for a second?
Okay.
No. Any discussion?
Yeah, Dave,
Yeah.
this is Chris. I may not be able to make it. I may have a planning board meeting that night.
Could you go out on your own if we don't?
Yeah.
If you can't? Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Let's go around the table. All in favor? Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
and Dave McLaughlin is an aye. Very good. All right, next item on the agenda is a
So,
notice.
quick question, this is Michael Larkin. When will our next hearing date then be, for July 6th?
Well, we haven't set the next meeting is probably July 7th.
7.
Do you want to continue still then that July 7th meeting then?
Yeah,
Just confirming that so we'll know that as well.
all right.
Dave, I'm going to be out of town on vacation that week of the 7th, which, after the 4th of July holiday.
Okay, well, we'll have to make sure everyone else we have to make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to continue the ANRAD hearing until July 7th?
Move.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion other than what Chris said? All in favor? Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
and Carl Bischoff.
Aye.
And Dave McLaughlin is an aye. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Next item on the agenda is a new notice of intent for 128 Riverneck Road. Chris, do you have a notice?
Mr. Chairman, I've got the legal notice. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on June 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Corey Schutzman. The applicant wishes to replace existing and install new natural gas lines in the vicinity of 128 Riverneck Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman.
The applicant here?
Yes, we're here.
You want to make your presentation, please? Now, you've got a lot of, there's a series of 5 handouts that I have. Do all of you have the same 5? Well, do all of you have 5? I don't know if it's the same 5. And we also have an agent's report, so. But why don't you go ahead, ma'am? Give us your name and affiliation.
Good evening.
I'm Corey Schutzman from National Grid, but Matt Hayward is the project manager and he'll be leading this off. Sorry, Matt.
That's all right. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us time during your meeting tonight. My name is Matt Hayward, and I'm the project manager for the Lowell Area Gas Modernization Project. Just give me 1 second, as I thought the presentation would be on the screen, but I'm just going to scroll up to it so I can follow along. Right. So the purpose of this project, so we are trying to upgrade the Wilbur lateral, which is a pipeline that runs through Tewksbury, Lowell, and Chelmsford. And we're trying to modernize it so we're able to do inline inspection throughout the entire length of the pipe. The inline inspection will allow us to put a device inside of the pipeline and use the gas to propel it. So that's the way we don't have to impact any of our customers. And that device will give us real-time feedback information such as third-party impacts throughout the line, any corrosion or any other type of damage to the pipe. And this way we know exactly where we can go out, make those repairs and fix it. It's something that's federally required every 7 years. And it's something that we just want to make sure, you know, for the overall safety of the gas network, that we can get in there and make this modernization. So if you move down to, I believe it is the 3rd page, we have a little bit of an overview of the entire project. So as I mentioned, it is the Lowell Area Gas Modernization Project. So we do have a few smaller pieces of the project throughout different towns in the area. So if we start in the left upper corner, you'll see in the Lowell area, we are installing a pig receiver at this location. This is where
Is this what is called sheet number 1? Page number 1 of 5?
We can't see anything, Dave.
No.
Give,
Can we
give
share
Katie,
the screen?
Give Katie a minute. Yeah, Dave, you can have the applicant share the screen if you want, and they can control everything. I would recommend them doing that. But you have to give over control to them.
How do I do that?
They can request to share the screen, and then you have to give them permission. Matt, is it allowing you, Matt?
Sorry, it is
on the bottom, little green box.
Oh,
I'm totally screwed up now.
Yep,
It says I am share screening.
No, Dave, you want to let the applicant Matt share the screen.
I understand.
So on the bottom of Matt's screen, there's a green bar. There's a green little button that says share screen, and then he would have to share the PDF that he has of his presentation material.
Yes, I do. Oh, perfect.
There it is. There's something.
Make it much easier. Thank you.
Can you guys see it on mine?
Yeah, well, I can
Yes,
see the
yep.
Lowell Area Gas Modernization Project.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you. And if you want to scroll down to page 3.
Would that be the 3rd page in that packet?
I'm sorry, what page do you want?
Should be page 3 of that PDF.
Page 3?
Yep. Ah, perfect. Okay. All right. All right, thank you. This makes a lot more sense. Good. I'm glad we can follow along together now. Okay. So as I was saying, this project has 6 different pieces involved in it, 6 different smaller projects that we're all grouping together because they all need to work together in order for us to modernize the pipeline to reach that need of being able to do the inline inspection. So if you're following along, you're looking at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see in the Lowell area, we are installing a pig receiver at the Wilbur Regulator Station. At this location, this is kind of working backwards, but the pig receiver is what catches that device when we insert it from the other end. And as you follow along, you'll see that black and purple spotted line. That portion of the project will be installing about 2 miles of gas line throughout that area. As we get to the next piece, which you can see exploded on your screen, this will be the horizontal directional drill piece of it, with the start of it being on the Chelmsford side at 128 River Neck Road, and it will be completing on the Lowell side at 32 Reese. As we follow the pipe path along.
That goes through the open water area that is East Chelmsford Water District and the Center Water District?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As we follow that along to the right, we get to the brick kiln take station T replacement. At this location, we're just installing a new fitting in this to allow us for that device to pass through the pipe. And as we move down to the right, we'll get to Tewksbury, and we are replacing another fitting at the Whipple Road, which is just another elbow. And then we get to the Tewksbury pig launcher. And at this site, this is where we'll be introducing that device into the pipeline, and it'll travel from right to left and end up at the Wilbur regulator station. But the area that we're specifically looking at tonight will be in this exploded area at 128 River Neck Road. If you don't mind moving on to the next piece, next page. All right, thank you. And I know this visual is very busy, but it gives you a good idea of, just an overview of the area that we're working in. And if you're looking at that top visual, you can see kind of the black box on the right side of it, and that is our area of work that we'll be doing our construction in. That will be the entry side of the horizontal directional drilling. That's where we'll be having the pipe laid out and be doing a majority of our work in that area. But as I mentioned, that's the entry pit. And then on the Lowell side, that'll be the exit pit for the drill. The visual at the bottom of the page.
Where is this relative to River Neck Road, or is that not on this at all?
Nope, it should be on that. So if you look at this visual below, you'll see, the
Okay, yeah.
And River Neck Road will be right before that entry pit right there.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, this will be horizontal directional drill. It's about 2,000 feet of it, and there is existing already, but we need to be able to do that horizontal directional drill because, as you can see, we'll be going under the I-495 on-ramp, as well as southbound of I-495, the Lowell connector, as well as River Neck Road.
Matt, is this project a big deal?
I like to think so, but to be honest, yes, it's quite a large project. It's one of the biggest ones.
I think I know the answer to this, but how much directional drilling does your company get involved in?
Actually, quite a bit. We have, National Grid is part of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New York, both up northern New York as well as down in the city. And the northern New York office actually does quite a bit of directional drill. And the Massachusetts region is actually increasing quite a bit for their directional drill, just because of the sole fact that, we can set up two sites that, this, for instance, 2,000 feet apart, we're able to get the pipeline in, and it leaves road access open, and it leaves, just basically it minimizes impacts to the community around it. So it's something that the company is really starting to move a lot more into, just because, we've been doing it more in New York. We're taking what we've learned from those projects, and if we can, install our gas main with minimal impact to the public, I think that's going to make everyone happy.
No, we've had experience with directional drilling at a couple of places within the town with quite a bit of success. On this cutaway,
yep.
Where can you delineate where wetlands are or not? Is that why you're going? Are you going under wetlands? Is that why this line is going down and then coming back up?
Correct.
So is that whole area that at the lowest point of the pipe, is that wetlands, do you think? Or not? Is it getting under the highway?
It's getting under the highway as well as the wetland area. So if you're looking at that lower, I'm sorry, the right picture of the lower visual, you'll see the River Neck Road right there.
Yeah.
In that area right between the I-495 northbound on-ramp and River Neck Road is the majority of that wetlands area.
And for all of our benefit, is that area between River Neck Road and Canal Street?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I believe it is.
So is it going through, or is it abutting Mr. Walsh's property?
It's going into Mr. Walsh's property.
Okay, at the back end of his property, is he going to have to move any of his trucks that he stores there?
Yes, he is. We actually have reached an agreement with him already. So once this project starts, we'll give him a notice that construction is starting, and he was willing to move that equipment.
I'd love to see what that costs. Just for your information, we've historically had some wetland issues with Mr. Walsh at the back of his property. And I take it are you going through the back of his property close to the water district property, or are you going right smack through his property?
It is closer to the district's property, but it is all on his property.
And then you go under Canal Street and then off to where, all right, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. No, I appreciate it. Just making note of that.
The next few slides after Matt's finished with his part of the presentation, we'll go through the resource areas. This is Shona Patasteas. I'm the wetland scientist for the project.
Okay, I'm ahead of you then.
If you don't mind moving on to the next page. All right, thank you. So I did also want to present too. We looked at numerous different alternatives for the HDD routes, to make sure we could minimize impacts to the abutters, whether in Lowell or in Chelmsford. I will make note that you can see that no matter which path we take, all the paths need to end up on that 128, 140 Riverneck Road property due to our existing pipeline right there, and that's where we're going to be tying back into. But I thought this visual was helpful to see that we did review alternatives. As you can see, alternative number 6 is quite a long one. And just, the longer the HDD, the more the risk that's involved. That's why we looked at some of the shorter ones. And we landed on the black one.
Which one did you take?
That would be
black number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it was the shortest and most direct route.
And where does that start? Where does one start?
So that is 32 Reese and Lowell, which is the back of the movie theater.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the movie theater, but yes, it's in the back of that parking lot.
Unmemorable.
And with that being said, I believe that concludes my piece. So I'm going to turn this over to Shona Patasteas, who is our outside environmental consultant, as well as Corey Schussman, who is our in-house environmental scientist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide. I think this should answer some of the questions, Mr. Chairman, that you had about the resource areas. Center of the map there, you see Riverneck Road. On the kind of the left side is the wetland area that Matt was talking about. It's a perennial stream. This is Black Brook. The HCD will go underneath Black Brook. So there's it's a part of the reason to bring the entry point over onto 128 Riverneck Road is you avoid crossing that brook with the pipeline. I believe it's about 50 or 60 feet underneath that. But the resource areas on site, there are 4 that were flagged in the field, one of which is this Black Brook. There's 4 wetlands. There's the large wetlands complex that's associated with the Chelmsford Water District, as well as a few abutting wetlands that are on the north side of Canal Street, kind of all connected into that larger system, but they're divided from the larger wetland by Canal Street. The work area, actually, if you go down to the next page, I think it's page 7, it should display the work area a little bit better. So this is that large wetland, which is W11 on the plans there. This is the large wetlands associated with the water district. If you follow Canal Street all the way to the south, that's where you get into their pump station. Wetlands 12, 13 are kind of the associated wetlands that are on the east side, I suppose, of Canal Street. Work areas on this site. So if you see the kind of the light orange dashed line, there's a work site on the 128 Riverneck Road property. And then you have a little bit of a linear shaped work area that extends out toward the back of St. Joseph's Cemetery lot. The work area on 128 Road is where you'll have a lot of your trucks, the drill rig, support vehicles for that site. And then the linear shaped is where you have your stringing of the pipeline as it's pulled into the drill hole. So that's linear shaped because you're lining up, several hundred feet of pipe at the same time. You weld those together and you pull them into sections. The work area where we have impacts to wetlands on the work area side associated with 128 River Neck Road is right near the tie-in point. So you'll see that there's kind of the red line, which is the approximate location of the existing gas line, and then the yellow, which is the new, where the new HDD is going to connect into the existing pipeline. So there's a little bit of excavation in that area that's within some of the local buffer zones. And then there's a small bit of matting that would be over the wetland to kind of give the crews the space to be able to excavate down and connect the new HDD pipeline into the existing system.
Ma'am, ma'am, is there any surface movement, or is everything underground?
This entire section is underground.
So there's no disturbance at the surface.
I mean, the disturbance at the surface is temporary because once you, the HDD will come out at the surface, and then it needs to be tied into the existing pipeline. So where it comes up underground, they'll have to excavate out kind of that connection point to the existing pipeline. So on the plan, you kind of to the center left, you see it's almost like a yellow line coming into a red line.
Yeah.
That's the tie-in point where you've got the new pipeline subsurface tied into the old. But there is some ground disturbance. It's temporary ground disturbance where they need to, excavate down to the depth of the existing pipeline to tie those in together.
So what do you do there to prevent erosion or to prevent any disturbance? Are you going to use silt fences or hay bales over there, or don't you need to?
On the wetland itself, there'll be construction matting. So that's, usually timber, but sometimes other material. There's a large bolted together matting, and that'll go over the top of the wetland so that if they need to, temporarily side cast some of the spoils while they're excavating, or there's machinery around, they operate on top of that matting rather than the wetland itself. The entire site where it's not within the work area will be surrounded by perimeter controls. As part of the application packet, there was a document entitled EG 303. That is National Grid's internal environmental guidance document. It lays out all of their best management practices, all of their procedures, as well as it has a number of different specs for what those are. So we would anticipate in this area erosion controls around the perimeter of the work area and each of these, these different wetlands. We'd also, some of the other best management practices or kind of avoidance measures that they'd be using on this site is, to the extent possible, because there's not an awful lot of upland area. It's kind of in the center of the site where, where most of the machinery we would parked, but soil stockpiles would be kept kind of outside of that 100-foot buffer. If there's refueling of any equipment, again, if to the extent possible, if as equipment is running, with the HDD, it's not always possible to kind of move it outside of that 100-foot. But to the extent possible, they'd refuel outside of that 100-foot. Other sorts of best management practices, we'd have an environmental compliance monitor on site during operations. Making sure that those erosion controls are kept in place, that the crews are keeping in compliance with all the permits that we've received for the work.
How big is the equipment you're bringing down Canal Street, if any?
I know that there's a number of different pickup trucks. There's a drill rig. I can't speak to the size of it. Matt, do you have an idea of how large that would be?
The point is that Canal Street's not a very strong street.
Right, and I know our Boston Gas Company has been in discussions with the water district, because that is one of the it's the main entrance down into that that station down there. That's something that we could note to discuss with them.
No, and also Canal Street is pretty high up off wetland areas, and you want to make sure the shoulders are strong enough for your trucks. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other area on the mapping here in W11, kind of that larger linear section where you've got some orange cross hatching, that's another area where we have a temporary impact. So there's no vehicle access through that wetland, and there's going to be no need to excavate in there, but that's where the pipe will be strung over the wetland. So that area we've reserved as kind of a contingency where we'd have some protective matting or protective layer on top of the wetland as the pipe kind of is strung across it, either elevated on kind of cranes or some sort of boom structure holding it up. It's protected from any debris that would fall off of that pipeline as it's strung into the HDD, into the actual drill alignment. So that's, it would be a temporary impact. They'd put the matting in while they're stringing and then pull it back out afterward.
Okay.
So those are, so when we say temporary impact, in that case, it's just the matting on top, where there may be some excavation, particularly kind of in the center left photo.
Yes.
My computer is giving me a message that it's about to power down on me, so I will be back, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry for the interruption.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So following construction, the restoration of the area is kind of an in situ restoration. So where we pull the matting out, we do some kind of follow-up monitoring through at least a growing season to make sure that there is no long-term kind of impacts from the matting being in place. There's some of the measures that we might have to put in place is kind of seeding, or if there's any ruts from the matting, which I wouldn't anticipate if there's no vehicles going across it, and kind of smooth out those ruts and wait for the existing vegetation to reestablish. In the center left, where the matting would be over that small kind of finger of wetland, same kind of thing that, once they pull the matting out, they'd look for any rutting, smooth that out, seed if necessary, and then go back and monitor until we've got full regrowth of vegetation and we can certify that it's kind of fully restored. So, following construction, this would all be, essentially, it would be restored to kind of pre-construction conditions. Any other questions on these slides?
No. Where does the project end? Down at the end of Brick Kiln? At least as far as Chelmsford's concerned?
Yeah, so Brick Hill, and we included in the application, but there's actually no wetlands on that site, so it's outside of the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. We just included it for kind of informational purposes.
Is W14 Chelmsford or Billerica?
W14 is Chelmsford, so that's at the back of the lot there. I don't have it in this presentation.
You're not doing work there.
No, we won't be within that wetland. That's kind of the stopping point for the where the HDD pipe would be strung out and welded together.
Very good.
So just before then. You wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please? So this is just a list of kind of the permitting that either is in progress or we've received so far. Some kind of anticipated permitting. We've pretty much got most of them. We've gone through a siting filing with the Energy Facility Siting Board. That was completed in the fall of 2019. We had our certificate from the Siting Board. We went through the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, full ENF and EIR, which is an environmental notification form and environmental impact report. That was completed in the spring of 2019. We're currently looking at getting together our Army Corps, so under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, that application, which is kind of in tandem with the 401 water quality cert that goes through Mass DEP. Because the project as a whole is presented in these applications, we're waiting on some finalizing some parts of the project in Lowell before we submit those applications. We're currently in the process of going through our local filings under the Wetlands Protection Act and the local ordinances or bylaws. We're also working with Mass DOT on a highway access permit. And I know that there's other local permits that other team members are working with in each of the three municipalities that the project passes through. So we would anticipate through each of these different environmental and other permits that we'd have a number of different environmental compliance conditions that we need to adhere to throughout construction.
When would you expect to start work?
I can take that, Shona.
Yep.
This is Matt Hayward. So for the horizontal directional drill piece that would be impacting the 128 River Neck Road, we'd be planning on starting that in the spring of 2021. But as we mentioned before, because this project is made up of a bunch of little different pieces spread throughout different towns, we are planning on starting a few of those smaller projects this coming September and October. So for instance, like I mentioned, the elbow replacement at in Tewksbury at Whipple Road, the T replacement at the brick kiln regulator station, those would also be starting this fall or early spring next year as well. And then we have the Tewksbury pig launcher and the Wilbur receiver. Those will be started, or one of those will be started for this coming fall in September, October timeframe, with the other one occurring next spring. And then the final mainline installation, which is about 2 miles, that would be starting next spring or late winter of 2020. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. The main line would be starting either in early winter of 2020 or spring of 2021.
Good. Anything else you want to add? Let's go around the commission with questions. Chris Tamula?
No, I mean, I think, my big concern was erosion control and, protections, and it appears that they're, doing what they need to do to protect that, and so I'm good.
Yeah, at least they're not Columbia Gas. Billy Vines?
Dave, we've had good luck with the horizontal drilling on other projects, so I don't have any issues with this. I had one question. Would you be, with your laying out the pipe, are you going into Canal Street at all, or keep staying on the Walsh property? And
so we would be going across Canal Street, and that was one of the conversations that we did have with the water department in that area. They were concerned about maintaining access to. I think you guys have a building out there or some type of.
Well, the water cut. Center Water District and East, I think, both have buildings out at the end of Canal Street.
Yes, and that was their concern, that we make sure we maintain access for them. So we did discuss the alternative route. There is a pathway through the cemetery, which they are okay taking. One of the things they did ask for us to do, though, is make sure that we have a fire truck rented and kept on their building side of the Canal Street. So that way, in case there's any type of emergency and our pipe may be across the road, they can easily get to the truck and then get to the emergency. But we have had that discussion with them, and they are aware of the impacts, that we may need to shut it down, especially once we start stringing the pipe out to pull it back through. It may be about 48 hours that road is shut down for, but for the remainder of the project, that road they'll still have access through that road.
Are you going to be into the cemetery property too?
So some of the stringing of the pipe will be. We do have a right of way through that area, so we'll be stringing part of the pipe through there. So the plan, like I said, it's about 2,000 feet for the horizontal directional drill, and we plan on stringing about a third of that at a time. So about 750 feet or so at a time, so that way we're not extending all the way into the cemetery property.
So both those abutters have been happy with the plan you have.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. No, I think we've had good luck with this before, Dave. So.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Mark Gibbs.
Yeah, I did have some questions. Wasn't there some work done there a few years ago with horizontal drilling, pretty much in the same area?
I'm not aware of any.
They
There
came
could have
before
been.
us.
I mean, I'm only aware of issues we've had with Mr. Walsh over the years, but
Yeah, not important. Where are you going to start for horizontal drilling? Because don't you normally need a slurry pit to start with?
We do. So that will be in that area of that I mentioned. I think it was on slide 4 with that overview, and there was that little blocked off work zone area right there.
So it's not in our jurisdiction?
On the right there on the Walsh's property.
Is that in conservation jurisdiction or outside of it?
Portions of it are within conservation.
So it's within 100, it's within 100 feet of the wetlands.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's obviously, that's gonna be dug in a hole, dug in the ground. It's mixed up and it's pumped in as you need it, correct? I don't remember the process in this.
Correct. Correct.
You gonna say something else? Oh, all right. The repair you're gonna do with the mats and the equipment, that's gonna be done the same year or in the spring of the following year? Where you're gonna have excavation equipment and laying the mats in the wetland to do construction?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah. You're gonna be in the wetlands with machinery, the excavator and things like that. You're gonna put mats down so the machines don't sink out of sight.
Correct.
You're gonna do that repair that year, or you're gonna do it the following year?
I think it would kind of depend on the timing of the year that we complete that portion of the work. You know, as I mentioned, we are planning on starting this in the spring. Our schedule from our contractors are saying it's going to take about 6 to 7 months. So in that case, we would do that repair immediately when we leave before we leave the site. But you know, in case there is any type of delay and we're in the winter time frame, the winter season, you know, we would come back in the spring and repair that and do the restoration then.
Okay. And I think the final one is, Chelmsford Water is aware of this. Is there any impact to their wells drilling next to them, or is there a certain area you're going to be away from the wellhead when you're doing drilling?
I'm not aware of any impacts. Shona, do you know of any?
No, I mean, the impacts would be mitigated by, I mean, it would be any kind of surface erosion or like the slurry pit if it's not contained. But because the whole site would be, you know, surrounded by erosion controls, there's a number of different other controls. We're avoiding any sort of, you know, erosion or sedimentation from that, you know, that slurry pit or any of the kind of the work on site coming into that surrounding wetland.
My concern was more subterranean. I don't know how far their wells go down and what's the proximity to where you're going to go buy them. The water department must be okay with this because they approved it.
I don't know the location of the exact wellheads. I know the whole area is that waterhead protection zone. I'm not aware of where the wellheads are.
How deep is the pipe in this this area behind Walsh's property, right up outside of Canal Street? How deep does it get?
I believe at our lowest point, we are 75 feet below the surface.
So that's Mark's question. We don't know how deep the wells are, and how close would that be to the 75-foot activity?
Understood.
Well, I don't know if it's going to disturb anything. They've reviewed this. Am I correct to assume that the water department has?
Yes.
They don't have a problem with this.
No, we have not had any issues from them.
Okay, then I guess mine's moved then. Okay, that's pretty much all I had.
Carl Bischoff?
I'm good. Enough questions from.
Did Chris Garahan come back on?
Dave, I'm back. Thanks.
Do you have any questions?
No, it looks like minimal disturbance or impact.
We've got some notes from Katie. It needs a DEP file number. Do you have one yet?
Yes, it's 129-890. I got that from Jim Freely this afternoon.
Okay.
I can send the email if you'd like with that file number.
Do you want that, Katie?
That's okay. I'll get it off the web. I'll just check the website.
And our agent indicates you're going to be within 25 feet of the buffer zone. Is that correct? So in a few places?
Yes, the eastern edge, or sorry, the southern edge of the kind of the HDD work area will be within the 25 and the 30-foot local buffers, as well as within that 100 feet.
So
most of that is going to be movement of equipment, and then that small area where the tie-in is, there would be some excavation, temporary excavation to tie in the new pipeline to the old.
So you need a waiver on a 25-foot no disturbance, but you don't need a waiver on 30-foot impervious, correct?
Correct. There's no impervious surfaces as part of this.
Is that all we need, Katie? Is a 25-foot?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to waive our 20-foot restriction on activity, 25 feet within the edge of wetlands restriction on activity?
Move.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin says yes. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the audience on the application being made? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions on this project with our standard conditions and no special condition.
So moved, Dave.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin says yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Gonna be a long night. Katie, you were right.
I told you.
Next item on the agenda is to construct a culvert at Boston Road and Concord Road. Chris, do you want to read the notice?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the legal notice. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on June 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Mr. Stephen Yarnley. The applicant wishes to reconstruct the intersection at Boston Road and Concord Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
Thanks, Chris. Unfortunately, Mr. Souza is not here to correct Mr. Yanley's last name pronunciation. I just remind the commission, this is not the lights that are going in at this interchange. That'll be later. This is just to reconstruct or to build a culvert through that intersection. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Would you like to go ahead, please?
sure. Good evening. I'm George Mihov with Howard Stein Hudson, and my colleague Rick Latini is here with me, and the representative of the applicant, Miss Christina Papadopoulos, the town engineer, is also present. If I can share my screen, I can show you an overall picture of the project. I believe you should give me permission on your side to do that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing where or how. Let me, can you do it now?
If
you hover over share screen, you should be able to allow other participants to.
Yeah, I have multiple participants can share. It's checked off.
Okay.
I have, let's see, all participants can share. It's all checked off. I mean, I can bring it up too. I don't know.
I think it's on your side. I'm pretty sure. Because I don't see it on this side.
Yeah, I have it all checked off, so you can. So it says you can share. But I'll
Do you
just
see
bring it
my
up.
screen?
Yes, I can see it. Hold on.
Here it is. Right.
Do you have it?
I see your screen, but
Yeah, we see Katie's screen,
yep.
Can't you just click on it?
but Katie, or Mr. I think you can try hovering over the share screen at this point. You should be able to share.
Okay.
Okay. It's still not doing anything.
If at the bottom of your screen, it should say share screen. And if
Yeah, yep, I'm on it.
Not you, Katie. I meant the
Oh,
presenter. Because I'm now able to share my screen if I wanted to. And
yeah, I
wasn't
checked off
before.
all the allowances.
George, do you have a share screen down the bottom middle? Because
Right.
sometimes you have to click like somewhere where the guests are, because sometimes the screen disappears. I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see it anywhere.
Should be at the bottom and it should be green.
Yeah, it's with all the other icons. Right next to the chat icon.
Right, right.
How about if you how about if you click on that first line item on the document library? No. Gee, that's Katie's. There you go.
I got, you guys can see it. I'll just do it. Just tell me which page you need to go to.
Okay.
Well, do you have the notice of intent in front of you? The plans from the notice of intent?
I think we all have the hard copy.
Okay, well, let's open to the second page. It's not a beautiful picture, but it should do it for now.
Hey, Katie, sorry, you're sharing just your Windows Explorer page right now. It's not showing the PDF.
Oh, sorry. I'm doing it. Hold on. Should be now. Oh, I don't know.
I love technology.
I have to. How about now?
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay.
All right, sir, go ahead.
So this is a very basic picture of it, but it should provide the overall idea. We are redoing 800 feet on Boston Road, doing at some portions we are milling and paving, and at some portions we are doing a full depth repair. We are also proposing 300 feet of repair of Concord Road, 200 feet on Parker Road, and 100 feet on Rosemary Lane. So the entire intersection. While we are repaving, we're also widening the road slightly, but in this widening, we're providing improvement on bicycle accommodation in the shoulders of Route 4, Boston Road. At the same time, we are proposing pedestrian light to also accompany the new pedestrian crosswalks that go across Route 4, across Concord Road, and across Parker Road. While we are proposing all these improvements, we are also reverting some of the pavement between Parker Road and Route 4 into a grassy area. So we are removing some of the impervious. All those improvements on the intersection also would suggest that we should improve the existing culvert that goes under the entire intersection. The culvert is conveying Farley Brook under Concord Road under a private property, Triangle Services Center's property, and under Route 4. The existing culvert is undersized. It's a 42-inch corrugated metal pipe. And we're proposing replacing this culvert with a 4x8 concrete four-sided culvert. If we can go to the utility plan, which would be sheet 12 of 29. You can see the areas that are going to be the areas of the road that will be improved. And also you can see the drainage improvements we're proposing. For the northern portion of the site, those would be deep sump catch basins to pick up runoff, stormwater runoff going down Route 4. And the the flow will go into a deep sump catch basins, then into a drainage manhole, and into infiltration structure, underground infiltration structure located between Parker Road and Boston Road.
Does the work involve you digging up the triangle parking lot to put that in?
This would be, we can see this better on the next page, on the next sheet.
Before you go to that, upstream or downstream, to the south, the south-southwest side on Concord Road, historically, there's been up by your power station, there's been a lot of flooding historically. Is this culvert going to address any of that?
Yes, you mean by the south? Yes, this would be the southwest. Correct. This flooding has happened in the past because the culvert, the 42-inch corrugated metal pipe is undersized, and it also has utilities running through this existing pipe, running across, which even further diminishes the capacity of the pipe. So it sometimes clogs with branches and debris going downstream, and it floods and causes flooding upstream.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, if I can hop in just quickly, we did do a hydraulic and hydrology study for this culvert, and so we studied the 25-year storm, and there will be, I mean, right now it overtops certain times, as you guys have just mentioned, but we'll have about 1.5 feet of freeboard for the 25-year storm, and we looked at even going larger than a 4x8 culvert, but there's a diminishing return on larger culverts. It doesn't make much of a difference when you get wider than that, because then the stream geometry ends up being the controlling factor as opposed to the culvert. So yeah, yes, we will be doing work on the triangle service station there too, to be able to construct this culvert. And as George, I don't know if George mentioned, there's actually a couple of catch basins on the angle points that the grades just drop right into the culvert today. So we'll obviously replace those with deep sump catch basins. Sorry, George, I just want to throw that in.
Yes, in the current, as the site exists right now, the water just runs down the street and it goes into those catch basins that directly drop into Farley Brook. While our improvements encompass having deep sump catch basins that will send the water, that will slow down the water, send it to manhole, and then send it into the wetlands associated with Farley Brook. So if you open sheet 13 of 29, this would be utility sheet 2. This will represent better the area you are asking about. The culvert currently runs through Triangle Services property, and the proposed culvert will also run through it. Yes.
Okay.
We are proposing some rerouting of existing water lines and other utilities in order to accommodate the culvert, and so we don't have any utilities running through the new culvert. If you go down to sheet 17 of 29, this would be the sheet that shows the wetland impacts caused by the culvert replacement. And the different areas that will be impacted would be bank, land underwater, bordering vegetated wetlands, then subject to flooding, and riverfront areas. Most of the impacts would be temporary. We will have some permanent impacts. On this sheet, you see on the current sheet, you see an overall view of the entire project. So we can move to the next sheet, which shows each of those impacts separately. This would be sheet 18 of 29. And if you zoom to the upper row of pictures here, you will see the downstream side of the culvert. So we have the temporary and permanent impacts of bordering vegetated wetlands up on the left. We have in green, you can see the temporary impacts, and those would be caused by regrading in order to provide compensatory storage. Those impacts would be, those impacted areas will be completely restored to original condition. The blue areas are areas that will we will have permanent impacts, and those are caused by widening the road and the building of the new head wall of the culvert and of the foundation of the new head wall. In the middle,
excuse me, when you do the construction of the culvert, are you going to disrupt the flow of the stream during construction? Or are you going to be able to build it while the stream still flows?
We are going to build a temporary bypass, which will be a 48-inch HDP pipe running parallel to the existing culvert, north of it, but parallel to it.
Can you do the construction in the late summer when the flow is lowest or not?
We plan to do the entire project. We estimate will take 2 construction seasons, but the construction of the culvert, we will front load this part of the project. So the culvert will be the first portion that we want to construct.
So you might be able to do that this summer, late this summer, or is that too soon?
This was the hope. I'm not sure if
okay.
we will be able to do it. I mean, we have to find a contractor and to go over the process with the contractor and see how it will play out. But yes, this is the idea. So yeah, we're going to have a 48-inch bypass pipe, and then we're going to replace sections of the existing culvert with the new culvert sections. This way, we intend to keep traffic flowing and to close only portions of the road and to divert traffic, so we don't end up closing any of the streets that we're crossing. We're crossing Boston Road and Concord Road with the culvert. So the second figure, top middle, This is the one showing the permanent impacts on the land subject to flooding. This is in light yellow. You can see the volume, the area and the volume of flooding that we'll have to replace. So we are going to provide compensatory storage, and you can see in the figure up right, you can see the compensatory storage area. This area will have to be regraded in order to provide enough compensatory flooding storage.
Yeah, I'd like to say just in short, like if there's any permanent BVWs, we are providing replication, and I believe it's more than a 1-to-1 ratio. And also the compensatory storage, we looked at it every single 1 foot slice. So we're actually providing more storage in the end than there today.
Good.
Correct. Yep. And then if you look at the 3 figures at the bottom of this page, you will see the upstream side of the culvert. And yes, this would be sheet 18, still sheet 18, the bottom of the sheet. So yes, this shows temporary impacts, again, caused by replication area that we are going to install in this part of the site. If we move to the next sheet, this would be 19 of 29. You can see the riverfront areas. Farley Brook has inner and outer riparian area associated with it, 100 foot and 200 foot from the brook respectively. So there's a table explaining all the separate areas and how we are dealing with the impacts. Most of this area is already developed, it's already paved. There's very minimal new impacts on the riverfront. So that gives you an overall idea of the impacts that this culvert will have, and I'm ready to take any questions.
Thank you. Hey, Steve, are you here or not? Is Steve Yonley on?
No, Christina Papadopoulos.
Christina, is this pretty much the layout that you will follow when you do the light interchange later, or are you going to have to dig a lot of this road work up again? Is it laid out pretty much to follow how you're going to have the traffic light pattern?
There are not going to be any proposed traffic lights at this.
Well, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought there was. I apologize.
They decided that this configuration would be a better suited for this intersection.
Good, we'll save some money. Yeah. Okay, questions? Billy Vines.
So, Chris, so do I understand you're going to start at Concord Road? You're going to put a 48-inch pipe from Concord Road to the other to Boston Road. You're going to install that, backfill that, and then start with the culvert.
Yeah, actually, we're doing that in 3 stages too. Like we'll build the 48-inch across Concord Road, then fully open up Concord Road, then go into the Triangle Service Center, and then do the last stretch across. Sorry, I meant Boston Road, Triangle Service Center, then Concord Road. Sorry about that.
So you dig that up and backfill it.
And yep, and then once when that's built, we will make a little modification on the at the stream to move the flow over to that. Then we'll be able to put some sheeting in to block it, and then start building the real cover.
Right, and then when you build a real culvert, you're gonna start at the same spot and work your way across? Or do you
Correct.
start in different areas and work towards each other, or?
No, it'll be the same sequence. It'll be Boston Road, then the parking lot, then Concord Road for the temporary and the permanent will both follow that, so.
And each section will be installed and then filled in, and then traffic will be released, and then the next section will be done. So it will not be one big installation. It will be done in sections.
Right, you're gonna work your way across half of Concord Road, then the other half, then, how about Triangle Service Center? How are they gonna be affected? Will they be able to operate without too much problem?
We still have to cross their property,
No, I
but
understand
they will have their driveways on Route 4 and on Concord Road open, yes.
Okay, all right. No, that's all. I'm fine with it, Dave. I understand what they're doing.
Mark? Mark Gibbs?
Oh, I can't see on the plan here, but you might have mentioned it. The elevation of the invert coming into that pipe and going out will be the same as existing pipe. So it's not going to lower the elevation of the wetlands on Concord Road by the power lines. Is that correct?
Correct. We are trying to maintain the invert in and the invert out the same. So we are trying to minimize any impacts on the wetlands by maintaining the existing flow pattern. And this is partially why we chose this specific culvert design, the 4x8, because it can closely mimic what we have currently while providing a better flow and a wider area for potential wildlife going through it.
Okay, in the area that you are going to build for the riprap area in the on Concord roads, I mean on Boston roadside, in a 100-year storm like we had last year, we had a lot of flooding because the culvert was getting blocked. Is the, I guess you call it the northeast corner of Boston Road, will that be able to handle that much water without being a problem to any of the neighbors?
This would be the south. I know the drawing is they oriented a bit funny. The southwest corner, the upside side of the culvert. You mean, right?
Right. The outside. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, we are increasing the capacity of the culvert, and the hydrological study is showing that yes, it will be able to handle the 100-year storm without creating
hardship.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
Yep. And just on top of that too, we are putting some like 15 to 17-inch stones for the first 2 to 4 feet too, so there won't be any scouring. So
okay,
that's part of the question too. So
thank you.
Chris Tamulo, your questions?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why the intersection's getting redone. It's such a beautiful intersection. It's just fantastic out there. No, I think, they did what they should be doing, with regards to the compensatory flood storage. They, unlike a lot of applicants that we see, they did the 1 foot by 1 foot comparison, showing that there's an increase in flood storage. I think just looking at the plan overall, there might even be a decrease in the amount of impervious area out there just by section. 1 second, I gotta fix my headphone battery's running out here. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
All right. I mean, other than that, I questions or issues.
Okay, Carl?
Just go back over the timing of this. You're looking at starting this late this summer, maybe if things go right, but it will still be next year as well.
Yes, this will definitely take 2 seasons, but yeah, if we can start this summer, this would be great. This would be ideal.
Okay. That's all I've got. Yeah.
Chris Garahan?
No, Dave, this will be good for the water quality, so I support it.
Katie, do you have any other questions? Katie's got a agent's report here. I hope you've all read. We've got to waive the 25-foot buffer zone. I take it that's a letter from Chelmsford's Engineering that you're looking for, Katie?
Yeah. Christina, you have a letter for us, or?
What does NPDES stand for?
Does this trigger NIPD's, Christina?
We'll have the contractor file the NIPD's and they'll create the stormwater pollution prevention plan. They may hire us to do it actually, but right now we're putting it on the contractor. We've got to mention the best thing. This is has Mass DOT funding too, so that's usually how they do it. But there will be a SWIP for this.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Katie?
No, just looking if we have any special conditions for the wetland replication or compensatory storage.
It looks pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, straightforward. What is it, 2 or 3 seasons of growing?
3 seasons of growing before we issue the the certificate of compliance.
Right. Okay.
Are there any questions from the audience on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain, first of all, I'll entertain a motion to waive the 25-foot buffer zone. Chris?
So moved, Dave.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carl. Any discussion? All in favor of waiving the 25-foot buffer zone? Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions with our standard conditions. I did not hear any requests for special conditions.
Dave, a motion for the standard order of conditions, just with the clarification that we want to have three successful growing seasons on the replication area.
Okay. Is there a second to Chris's motion?
Second.
All in favor? Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a new notice of intent for 236 to 240 Concord Road.
Groton.
Groton Road. I'm sorry. 236 to 240 Groton Road, a residential subdivision. Chris, do you have a notice?
Mr. Chairman, the legal notice. Under the provisions of the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on June 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Wen Lan and Chen Hong Lu. The applicants wish to construct a residential subdivision at 236 and 240 Groton Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of wetland.
I would like to remind everyone that this is a Conservation Commission review. This is not a planning board or development review. We will only discuss those issues that affect the state's conservation bylaw and the town's conservation bylaw. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Katie Unright with Howard Stein Hudson is here tonight representing North Star Realty, Wetland and Carrie Lou. Tonight, what we have for you is a parcel of land located at 236 and 240 Groton Road, and then 3 unnamed parcels that bring you closer to the Route 3 on-ramp. That's this piece here. This is Groton Road at the top of the page. The site consists of about 8 acres. And it is in the RC zoning district. So what we're looking to do is a residential development. In the RC zoning district, we're allowed to do duplexes. So each of these houses is essentially a 2-family, and there's 12 total houses. The jurisdictional areas you reviewed, I believe, earlier this year or late last year, relative to the bordering vegetated wetland here along the highway. Can you see my hand as I move it around? Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So this bordering vegetated wetland here along the on-ramp, essentially, that takes water off this hillside and also off the pavement associated with the on-ramp. There's a wetland to the rear here, the southeast corner, that goes into the National Grid property right behind the property. And then there's a tiny little, it's about 460 square feet isolated wetland that's right here in this portion of the site. And essentially, this area is just a low-lying area. There's a lot of topography everywhere else throughout the site, and this is an area that just collects some water at this point before it then overflows toward.
Yeah, the commission will remember we saw that application, and we deemed that we had jurisdiction because of the 460-foot isolated wetland.
Right, so this was the locally jurisdictional area, and these are the 2 BVWs. The 100-foot buffer zone off the BVWs is essentially in this area here. So there's approximately, it clips 2 units in the back here and a portion of this unit 23 and 24 in this area. We are outside the 50-foot no structure with each of the homes that are located on this. We're not doing any work within the 25-foot no disturb, and we're not doing any paved surfaces within the 30-foot. We are seeking to fill this interior wetland here, but what we'd like to do is essentially work with the depression that's there today and the natural flow of drainage throughout the site and the abutting properties, and continue to use this essentially as a storage area for runoff as it is today. So we'd like to expand on that area. What we'd like to do is propose a subdivision roadway that would bring you into the subject site with a cul-de-sac. The high point on this road is about here towards the middle. We're collecting all of the stormwater in deep sump catch basins that would be fitted with a silt prison. What that allows us to do is get about 60% TSS removal at the catch basin itself. Those are easily vacked out, and that will get us the 50% or a certain percentage prior to discharging to these 4 bays here, and then go into this detention area here, which will essentially have a lined wet bottom. So we can only get 50% TSS removal from these 4 bays and this extended detention. We also have a detention area down here near the road. Because the site slopes up really quickly, we needed to put something very close to the road so that it could slow down the water, collect the water, infiltrate the water, and treat the stormwater that's coming off this roadway here. So we've filed with you a drainage report for the subject site. And that's really the extent of what we're doing today. The site, again, is 8 acres. There's about 1 acre here that's within a National Grid easement that we're doing very limited work in. There's about half an acre of property on the other side of that easement. And the 3 jurisdictional areas, again, are the southeast corner here along the on-ramp, and then the small 462 square foot isolated area in this portion of the site.
Katie, describe for me what again you're going to do with the 460-foot area.
So we're basically expanding on it to create the extended detention basin.
So you're going to make a bigger area.
Exactly.
How many square feet?
It's pretty substantial, as you can see here. I would have to look at the drainage report to look, but this is now the extended detention basin is this entire area here on the site. So I would say it's about 20, probably close to 15 to 20,000 square feet. Would like to keep it really shallow. We didn't want to make it very deep. The water table is obviously high in this area.
Who's responsible for maintaining it?
So the homeowners association would be responsible for
There will be a homeowners association?
Right. Typically in the past, or the most recent subdivisions we've done in Chelmsford, even if they were to take over the road, the detention still remains in a homeowners association because the staff is not large enough essentially to take care of all of these stormwater management systems. So the homeowners association would stay in charge of that.
The detention area overflows, where does the water flow?
It flows to the BVW as next to the on-ramp, and then this gets collected into the drainage system that ends up in Groton Road.
Okay. Katie, you had some comments on your agent's report. We didn't have a file number as of the 17th of June. Do you have one now, Katie Enright?
Yes, it's 1290889.
Okay. And you're filling, you said the 600-foot isolated wetland with approximately how many thousand square feet?
Well, actually, we're excavating around it to create a larger detention area of about, I would say it's about 15,000 square feet.
Okay. Katie, do you have any other questions? Where would you want to see the erosion controls on the site? Just around the houses as they're constructed?
Which Katie?
Okay, I'm sorry. Katie Girton, you're suggesting erosion controls on the site. You want them around the houses or what?
Oh, no, I'm saying they are proposed. I think they're on the
sorry.
plan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're on the plan.
You don't want any more than is there. Okay,
No, I was just it was a statement.
okay. Do you want to add anything else, Katie Enright?
Nope.
Questions? Mark, Chris Tamula.
Has engineering looked at this at all? Or do we need engineering to look at this at all? I assume they will as part of the planning board.
Yeah, so Christina actually gave me, if I may, through the chair, Christina actually gave me some comments today because we have planning board tomorrow evening. So she listed her standard conditions for the planning board hearing tomorrow evening and gave me a detailed list of comments for me to take care of kind of in the background. Just mostly it was cleanup items.
Okay. From a pre and post development peak rate of runoff, you have less post than you do pre because of the big basin, I assume.
Right. There's like one tiny little, I think it's the 2-year storm to Groton Road has like a very small percentage of increase in the 2-year only. And that's just due to the cover and the slope of certainly adding impervious in the slope of that area, but that's the only place that's extremely minor.
Okay. I'm all set, Dave.
Okay, Billy Vines.
I'm all set, Dave.
Mark Gibbs.
No, I have nothing, Dave.
Carl Bischoff. Carl? Did we lose him?
He's muted.
Carl, are you muted?
No, I'm all set.
Thank you. Chris Garahan.
Yeah, so Dave, what I'm hearing then is there's no net loss of wetlands then from what I'm hearing. In fact, it's going to be expanded given the expansion of that area. Is that correct? Am I understanding it correctly?
Well, the 460-foot isolated wetland, which we said was under our jurisdiction,
yeah,
becomes approximately 15,000 square foot detention area for the whole project. Is that correct, Katie Andrew?
Yes.
Is that still going to have like the basically wetlands type characteristics as far as we're not going to lose the wetlands, are we?
Well, it would be very similar to what the wetland does there today. Essentially, the only reason that area is wet is because basically it's super, super flat in that area. So it collects water. So there's hydric soils there. You wouldn't actually know walking around in the forest right now that is specifically a wetland. So essentially what we're doing is expanding on that and creating a larger vegetated area that will continue to collect water.
What's the elevation of that area, Katie?
It's 182, I believe.
And what is that in relationship to the It's hard to read, it's so small.
Yeah,
182.
182.
And what is Groton?
And this is 183, and this little area here is 183, and this is essentially 182 to 183. So
What is Groton Road?
Groton Road is down at 175.
Okay, so this is gonna, so I'm trying to understand, where's the runoff coming that's gonna go into this detention area?
Right, so there's water that flows. This is all higher up in this area here off-site.
Yeah.
Higher here.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fades off to this wetland here. So there's a large expanse that actually goes to this ice area now.
And then some runoff from the site is gonna go down to the lower right where it says wetlands?
Some of the site, right, some of it will run off directly to the area along the.
Will any of it go to Burton Lane?
No, this is much higher here.
Okay, all right, very good.
And that's good. So the runoff would be, well, actually, sounds like the runoff actually might be held for longer on the property, given the detention basin, which is good.
What are the soil conditions on this detention basin?
Well, the soil conditions are actually pretty good out there, but the water table is high in this area, strangely enough, even though it's so much higher than the on-ramp and so much higher than the road. So we're assuming that there's no infiltration in this basin, and we're just using it to control stormwater.
Hey, how deep is that going to be?
What is that, Billy?
About how deep is that going to be?
It's 184.5 to 182. So that's why it's so large, is it's only 2.5 feet deep.
How deep?
3 feet.
3 feet? Okay. Do we want to do a site walk to take a look at this?
I don't think I need to, unless we hear some comments from the audience that would suggest it. I think it's pretty straightforward.
I wouldn't recommend, but.
Anyone else have a thought? I mean, we certainly can if you want to. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, let's see if there's any abutting concerns,
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? I'll open it up to questions from the audience. Can I have your name and address? And just a reminder that I would like you to restrict your questions to conservation matters, not to planning matters.
Mr. Chairman, I might go first. This is Mike Walsh. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, so I'm on a butter. I live at 7 Burton Lane. And for the record, I am also a member of the planning board, but I am speaking tonight only on behalf of myself and being a butter to the project. I'm just concerned about, I live on the south side, southwest side of the property, right there where the cursor is right now. And I get a go access into the easement, which is lot 1, 2, and 3. And there seems to be a discrepancy on the drawings that there is no, they don't call out any local jurisdiction areas of wetlands there. And I did send a note earlier this year to you guys. You're just asking the question, who determines what's wet and what's not? Because when I go down there to get a lacrosse ball for my kids who are not as accurate on the net, there's 12 inches and plus of pooling water all in that easement. And I would like to know what the status is of that. And that's what I'm just trying to determine, all that pooling water in the fall, in the winter, and in the spring. You can't walk across that easement without having to jump from rock to rock because of the wetlands. And I was just wondering why the engineers have not shown that on any of the drawings. So,
Mike, are you talking about the area that's shaded darker green?
yes, right down in that area there, that whole, right there, that lot there is, there's a National Grid electrical easement. So that the driveway for the lot 2 and 3 are coming under the easement, and there's a lot of puddling there. So I'm not objecting to the project. I would just like to verify that those are not wetlands, and because that roadway, that driveway is coming in is going right through where the water puddles.
You mean the driveway for those two? Yeah.
Yep, so that's, and there's a lot of water, there's water that comes down the easement, like Katie mentioned, and it comes down from, I'm up a little bit, I'm up about, I don't know, 10 feet. And then it does come down. So the elevation there, the finished elevation, I think, Katie, on that driveway is 184, it was 184? And where your wetlands is, yeah, 184. So it goes up, and then right at the roadway, it goes up naturally. So the water's running down into that easement area. So I was just want to make sure you guys, just ask you to look at this, and if it's correct, it's correct. But there's wetlands to the west, down the bottom of the easement, and the GIS system is not showing.
Mike, you lost me on the location. I saw the 184, and then you were talking about a water flow from where to where?
So right now, naturally, the way it works is right where the homes are, where the proposed roadway is, and then north of that, units 14, 13, 12, and 11, the water runs down towards where it says lot 2.
Yep.
And then my area runs where it says lot 2 as well, coming from the different direction.
Yep.
I just want.
So the elevation is going from roughly 187 down to
184.
84, and then back up to 186.
Yeah, but we're higher up here over in this way.
I understand. Okay.
Yep. So my only concern
what is the area that you're suggesting might be wet? It's more than this dark green area. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, it's really from where it says lot 2, the signage for lot 2, the designation, and to lot 3.
Oh, okay. Right, so it includes, okay. So it's not the dark green, it's the light green area.
No, it's really just spotty. You go out there today, it's all dried up because we're in the middle of the drought. But if you went out there in April, you could not walk across that easement because there's puddles, there's pooling water there. And so that's when I asked the question, what is determined wetlands and what is not? Because I understand there's drainage issues and the way the natural topography is. So that's just my question for you and the commission, and the neighbors up here would just like to know if that's okay, if that's filled in.
Katie Girton, can you remember when they came before us to ascertain whether or not we had jurisdiction? We were only looking at that isolated wetland area. Was there any reason that we weren't looking on lot 2 and 3 that you can remember?
Yeah, we were looking at the isolated wetland.
But
it doesn't show on the. There's no wetland shown on the GIS in the area Mike is talking about.
Okay.
It sounds to me like that's just the way the water runs, and as we know, pooling doesn't necessarily mean wetlands.
Right. I think that was part of our response to Mr. Walsh, I think.
Mr. Chair.
Can you add anything to what Mr. Walsh has said?
Yeah, so when we had our wetland scientist go out here, he explores the whole lot and all the boundaries, and then anything within 100 feet of the lot. That's why these wetlands are located in both of these areas. And this area of interior wetlands was located in the middle of the site. So certainly they're looking at both basically features in the soil, and they're looking at the type of vegetation that's out there. And both of those items, the glaying of the soils, the colorations. He has his auger with him when he's out there, and he's also looking at plants. And that's why we went through the ANRAD process before we started doing the engineering, was to make sure that we had the wetland boundaries set, and we brought that before the Conservation Commission for approval prior to even looking at engineering on the site, to make sure that those boundaries were set and not able to be moved during the engineering process.
So did the ANRAD, I'm sorry, you have to bear with me. Did the ANRAD submission include the wetland scientist report that had auger drillings?
This wasn't an ANRAD. This was an
sorry.
RDA.
It was a jurisdiction, right? But
yeah.
did we see a wetland scientist report that showed there had been borings taken with a map?
I can't recall. It was through an RDA. It wasn't a full ANRAD.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes, who is speaking?
This is Virginia Timmons. I live at 28 Levitt Lane, and
Well,
I'm speaking as a resident and as a precinct rep. And I wanted to just build off of the topic that you were on. I was at the December 17th meeting when the gentleman who was representing Howard Stein Hudson came to your meeting for the request for determination of applicability. And the comment that I was going to make before this conversation ensued was that my recollection from that meeting was that he presented only the isolated wetland, acknowledged that there were others along the Route 3 corridor, and had said they were just there to get, I'm sorry, I'm not using the right technical terms, but to get an initial reading from the Conservation Commission, and was told that you would need to see a development. I just want to say that I was actually encouraged when one of the members said maybe we should do a site walk, because I think it's a relatively small investment of time just to sanity check that there aren't any other wetlands in that area, and to address the concerns that Mike Walsh brought up, just to verify whether or not that area is wetland or just a place where water flows. So I think it would just bring a lot of people peace of mind if the commission was willing to do that site walk. I remember that Katie Girton had a report on the isolated wetland, but it was only that one spot.
Thank you. Ms.
Thank
Timmons.
you.
Katie, do we have access to a more formal report, a more complete report? Or do you not remember?
I'll have to look through the files.
You would have access to the soil logs regarding this isolated wetland area, but
Here's what I would suggest, and let's see what the rest of the
Hey, Dave, before we have an abutter who's trying to speak. Her name's Beth. She's just not sure how to get your attention.
well, Beth, go. I was going to suggest, and we'll get to you, Beth, that we remember what Chris Garahan said, and perhaps as a result of this discussion, we should schedule a site walk with the appropriate information available. But Beth, do you want to tell me your full name and address, please?
Hi, this is Beth Logan. Hi, gentlemen. I used to be on the Conservation Commission.
We all know who Beth Logan is. Why can't we see you?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, there. Hi, you can see me. So I live just kind of across the street from Burton and behind the next house. So 36 Levitt Lane. I can actually see that corner from my house. But I have two questions. Well, I have one question and one thing to tell you. My question is, you talk about runoff going down along the on-ramp, I believe that is, and down. Has anybody checked to see with all that additional impervious, whether or not there's sufficient drainage to handle all that additional water going down that way? So that's my first question. And my second thing is, Virginia, who just spoke, who lives a couple streets down from me, actually, we spotted, when we spotted it, she was outside, so I showed her, a turtle laying eggs in her yard. And I'm pretty certain it didn't come from the wetlands. That would have been like half a mile in the other direction. I'm pretty certain it came from behind her house.
Which is approximately where in relationship to this?
Virginia's house is, so if you follow the left edge of the property straight down, she's just past Burton on Lovett.
I'm adjacent to one of the legal abutters.
Okay.
I'll jump in. There is no natural heritage mapped on the site. And if there is a vernal pool anywhere near, our jurisdiction is only within 100 feet of any vernal pool. So since there's no natural heritage map.
Yeah, our jurisdiction is within 100 feet of a vernal pool. Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Beth, anything else?
Well, does anybody know the answer to the first question? And if there is
what about the turtle?
No, about the drainage, Dave. Can I
Oh,
answer?
I
So
don't.
regarding the drainage, we're required to meet pre to post development runoff for the sites. So we're not increasing runoff to that wetland along the on-ramp. We're not allowed to, and therefore it doesn't affect the infrastructure downstream. And that's why we have this large detention basin. It's essentially to hold that water back and control the outflow so that we don't increase runoff to the wetland and therefore affecting the pipe system. I have a question. I mean, we came before you in the fall and in the spring to determine the jurisdictional areas on the site for a reason. The reason was to get those essentially set in stone so that we could move forward with an engineering project and not waste our time essentially looking at development of this site without having those areas. And that's the only purpose we were before you with the RDA, was to determine those jurisdictional areas. We spent a lot of time on the site. Wetland scientist is not required to do borings on a whole site if they don't feel that it's a wetland area. It's only to prove where a wetland area exists. And therefore, I understand the concerns about the development, but the wetland areas themselves within the site have been set.
Katie, the Conservation Commission vote was to say we had jurisdiction, no more than that. So we're exercising our jurisdiction now. That was the question before us last fall. Does the Conservation Commission believe it had jurisdiction because of the small detention area? And we said, yes, we do. We did not do anything more than that. Any other questions? Mr. Hall, do you want to ask a question? I'm sorry, you must be, I think you're muted.
I can unmute him. Let me try to unmute him. Let's see, where is he? Okay, I'm asking him to unmute now.
Can we help him?
I can help him. Let me chat.
Maybe he could type his question in the chat.
Yeah, let me see if I can get him in a chat. I think I have him.
Where are we?
He's typing.
We can hear Jerry typing.
There's something wrong with his microphone.
Okay. All right. Other than him, are there any other questions from the audience? Somebody better mute their mic. Chris Garahan, based on your question and based on what I have heard, I would be in favor of a site walk. Any other thoughts?
I agree with you, Dave.
Yep, I've changed my mind too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a site walk on Monday, the 29th. And that one is.
Was it 6 o'clock, Dave?
Yeah, and that was for what? That was, I can't remember what it was for.
Targetville.
Oh, yeah, that's the other side of town. So maybe we can we do them both on Monday night or not? When's it get dark? 7:45?
No, later.
Later. if we did half an hour at Hart Pond, we could probably get up to Groton Road in time, or we could make it on another night, or whatever you like. What are your thoughts? Do you want to try?
Is that possible?
What?
7 o'clock that same evening?
I like 7 o'clock. We might be able to do that.
Yeah.
Why don't let's say 7:15 to give ourselves, and let's try to limit the site walk at Hart Pond to no more than 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll try it.
7:15? All right.
7:15, and Katie Enright, whereabouts on the site would we meet? Right at Groton Road?
That's going to be, yeah, right at Groton Road. We'll probably.
Is that too busy?
Well, it is going to be too busy. We're going to want to try to park at 236 and 240. I will get permission from the owners to do so.
Okay. What I'd like to have available for the site walk is whatever engineering or wetland scientist report we had for the hearing last fall, Katie Girton, if you can dig it out. All right, is anyone else in the audience want to add anything, or can we just have a vote on a site walk? Incidentally, at a site walk, all of the residents are available if the applicant allows them on the site. And some do and some don't. So we can arrange, you can come, and if they will let you on the site, you can come with us. The site walk would not involve a discussion. The discussion has to be at the next meeting. The site walk would be fact-finding, or questions could be asked, but no discussion.
Dave, could I have my wetland scientist there?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I'll entertain a motion to have a site walk at 236 to 240 Groton Road on June 29th at 7:15.
So moved, Dave.
Is there a second?
Second.
By, who was that? I'm sorry. Was
Mark.
that you, Carl, or you, Bill? Who was the second?
Mark.
Mark. Okay, all in favor, Chris Tamula?
Aye.
We got the same problem you had before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
And then we will continue this until July 7th.
Dave, there's a question. Somebody
Right.
asked if it'll be open to the abutters.
It is open to, the site walk is open to the abutters, assuming or providing that the owner allows people on their property. So that will have to be determined. Katie, can you talk to your client?
Yeah, I will have to talk to my client and get back to you.
Okay. Thank you. We'll see you on the 29th, and we'll continue this to the, what did I say? 7th of July.
Dave, do you want a motion on the continuance to July 7th?
Yeah, can I have a motion to continue the hearing on 236 to 240 Groton Road until July 7th?
So moved.
It's moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carl. Any discussion? All in favor? Chris Tamula?
Aye. Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, it's great to see you guys, and thank you for all, you guys have been doing this for years. It's a lot of work, I know. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Katie Girton's item. It's the enforcement order for our friends at 36 Turnpike Road.
Yes.
What is it? They're requesting that we
Bear with
issue
me.
it. I'm sorry?
Hold on 1 second. I will
What did we get? Shut off the
I'll
air?
show you. No? Are you still there?
Yep.
I'm here. I think all those ugly faces.
I'm here.
Yeah.
This is riveting.
Can you hear me? Can you see my?
We can hear you, Katie. We can't see your
Your
screen.
beautiful face. Just half of it, but I can see half of it. There we go.
All right, hold on. Hold on. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
This
Okay, so 36 Turnpike is asking for compliance with their enforcement order requirements. So this is the plan submitted by Norse Environmental,
And
as-built,
Flaherty?
and Flaherty.
Is that a separate piece of paper, or are they both signing off on this one?
They both are asking for compliance. Flaherty
On this, okay.
submitted a letter requesting compliance. This is the as-built plan. Here's the work that he did, that large patio in the pink. That's all the work. This was yellow, but this is all the cut and fill that they had to do for compensatory storage that we requested in the enforcement order. And these are the 10 trees that are thriving at this point. So
Are they all there?
They're all there.
Are they healthy?
Yeah, they're hard to see. It's a little overgrown, but they've all survived.
That's all right.
They've made it to the as-built plan. The site is stable. It's all regrassed. Looks
So
like he's behaving.
Do you recommend that we issue a certificate of compliance?
Well, there's no certificate of compliance. They're just asking us to close the
I'm sorry. Do you recommend that we
enforcement
close
order.
Okay, guys, you'll remember we stopped finding him last winter or last fall, I guess, but we did not waive the outstanding fees. We said we will wait until we see what happens on the site. So we can act on two things. One is we can act on confirming compliance with our requests for this site. And the other thing we can do is to waive all or a portion of the outstanding fines. So let's talk about the first item, which is whether we accept this as whether we accept this as the work having been done that we requested. Katie says she thinks it has been. Any comments?
I'm happy with it, Dave.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts? I mean, based on what I see and what I hear from Katie, I would say he's done what we've asked him to. I just hope in this drought season he can, well, they've been in for 2 years, right?
Yeah, they've been in for, well, 5 of them are new.
Okay.
5 of them are probably just hitting their 3rd growing season.
Well, they should. Do you think they can sustain the drought?
Yeah, they wouldn't be asking for the compliance if they weren't done with their growing season. So,
okay. So I will enter any other comments or thoughts?
Dave, Chris, as I remember last time, it's got to be at least 6 months ago. As I recall, I think we suspended the, any imposition of fines for a period of time, and I forget how long we suspended it for, but we suspended it for a period of time just to ensure, that we had compliance from the homeowners and to ensure we didn't have further trouble. At that point, at least the majority of us were like, let's leave it open, kind of suspend it over their heads.
Yeah, and I think we sent him a letter that kind of slapped his wrists.
Yeah, and then we copied Sam Polta and we copied Pat Flaherty and whatever.
Right.
And but we didn't waive the outstanding fine balance.
Correct. That's my recollection. We just kind of suspended it, imposition of it. Yeah, exactly.
So we could still collect all or a portion of or go try to collect it. But it's the same. Okay. Well, the first thing I think we should do is determine whether we accept this as an as-built plan from Mr. Erickson and Mr. Flaherty. And I would entertain a motion that we do.
Yeah, Dave, so I'm okay. I'll make a motion that we basically accept this, acknowledge receipt of this letter and indicate that we, from what we can see there, the property is currently in compliance with our requirements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by who, Billy?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of Chris's article to accept this as the as-built plan? Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, yes. All right. I would entertain a motion, and we had a long discussion about this. I'd entertain a motion of waiving the outstanding fines balance.
They're not applying for a COC this evening, correct?
I don't think they ever will.
No, there's no COC.
Right.
They don't have a notice of intent. This was all done on.
What do we have for a growing season on what's planted there? I mean, I understand what's built.
And I think the fine balance is about 11 grand, right?
I'm sorry?
I think the fine.
The tree. I'm going to answer Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark asked the 5 trees that we asked him to replace just finished their 3rd growing season this past spring.
And the fine balance is around 11 grand, as I recall. And we had long discussion back and forth about what would be an appropriate fine, what wouldn't be an appropriate fine. Were we willing to pursue a fine? Do we understand what it would cost to pursue a fine? And there was some pretty strong opinions on both sides, as I recall. I think he's paid, and I think he's paid enough in doing the work that we required. And I think it's not worth our time and effort and money to chase some small amount, 500, 1,000, whatever. And I think chasing thousands of dollars is a mistake. I know, Mark, you had some very strong opinions on the other side that we needed to set an example. The last letter we sent him, in a sense, was setting an example too. But I understand. I'm saying let's not make him pay a financial penalty other than the cost to fix the site, which would not have been low. Although he could have done it all himself, because
I was told he couldn't. I was told he couldn't even afford to have his Mr. Erickson here tonight. So I'm presenting for him.
You're doing a beautiful job, Katie.
Thank you. I colored the plan too, so it show up better.
Chris Tamula, you got any thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Billy Vines?
I think he's paid enough in engineering, and I think we should put it to bed finally.
Mark Gibbs?
We're not voting, so I don't have anything else to say.
Chris Garahan?
I mean, we could leave that suspension thing open for another 6 months if we wanted to. I'm okay if we did it that way, or we could close it out tonight. I mean, if he gets into more trouble with us, we're not going anywhere. So
we really could ask him to wait another growing season.
Yeah, I mean, we can just tell him he is currently in compliance with our regulations, and we appreciate, the work done so far.
I like Chris's idea, instead of just closing this out, just to keep, so we don't forget about it, to make sure it stays. It doesn't cost them any money.
Carl?
Hello?
Carl Bischoff, you got any thoughts? Carl, you got any thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Okay. What did we should take the last letter we sent him. And we had, Chris, you put some fairly forceful language in it. I think we ought to use that again, but just preface it with saying that, you know, that we voted to accept the as-built plan, and state what the outstanding fine balance is, and that it will stay in place through one more growing season, and whatever else we said to kind of slap his wrists. Katie, you could probably dig that out and show it to all of us, and we can just add our thoughts to it and get it to them. In the meantime, you can tell them that we accepted the as-built. So let's do that, okay?
Okay.
All right. Next item. What certificate of compliance on Clydesdale?
Are you voting on the?
I thought we voted on accepting the as-built.
Did you?
I thought we did. Vivian?
It stopped at me. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh,
let it go.
okay, all right. I thought we went to Chris Garahan and then Carl Bishop. Chris Garahan.
Yeah, you have to vote.
Did we?
No.
All right, let's do it again. Let's start from the beginning. We have a motion to accept the as-built plan. Let's go around again. Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Yes.
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. And then the other is I'll entertain a motion to send a letter to Mr. Ho advising him of that fact and saying that the outstanding fine balance of X dollars, whatever it is, will remain in effect for one more growing season.
Okay. So move.
Moved by Mark Gibbs. Is there a second?
I'll second that. I mean,
Second by Chris. Any discussion?
We just want to preface it, you know, with like, thank you for your compliance.
Katie's going to send the letter around to all of
Oh,
us.
perfect.
We
Perfect.
can add our comments. to it,
Excellent.
right?
Good.
Yeah.
All in favor? Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Certificate of compliance for 10 Clydesdale.
Do you want me to put the plan
Yeah,
up, or you have it in front of you?
I got it. We all have it in front of us?
Yeah, they're in compliance. Everything's stable on site.
Where is Clydesdale? Mark,
It's a single family home.
were you working on there?
Hitching post area.
Okay. Hitching post?
Yeah.
All right. Any comments or questions on this request for COC? I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 10 Clydesdale Road. Moved by Billy, second.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Discussion? All in favor? Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Bill Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. Next item is a COC for 1 Arlene's Way.
Yeah, this is 44 Westford Street, LaPorte. The single family home that was built on the front of the lot
Yep.
a couple years ago, I think this application was
I
from.
think it just sold this spring, right? Or this summer.
Yeah, I believe so. It's all stabilized and kind of old news at this point.
Good looking house.
Yes, it is really nice looking, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 1 Arlene's Way. Moved by Billy Vines. Second.
Second.
Second by Mark Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor? Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Good. On to discussion. Information, John Svensson has been appointed to the Conservation Commission. I assume he's been sent a letter and will be sworn in by the town clerk, and he should be advised of our next meeting. So we are up to speed. I have not heard anything about what's her name, Mendez, I'm sorry. Unless you didn't notice it, last night town meeting approved $25,000 for the work at the Cranberry Bog. I've sent a letter out to Cohen and the DPW asking them to start the work, and hopefully it will be done by the end of the summer. So we have two projects with DPW. One is this one. The other is Carl and I have requested that DPW put a fire gate at the end of Noble Road in order to allow the fire department's gator, as they call it, into the site. And we'll present to you from NEMBA a program to determine two or more extraction points with ways of how the fire department can get them. We've had 3 accidents in the last year that required the fire department to get into Russell Mill to get somebody out. So we'll let you know what the status of that is. I got a complaint from neighbors about 331 Boston Road being a trash stockpile. That lot is a Butts Mill Pond. It's got a lot of white goods on the site. That's, what's his name?
Jim Murray.
Jim Murray's site. The place is pretty messy. It's questionable whether it's within our jurisdiction. But we should at least mention it to him. And what Katie was going to do was talk to Board of Health, but they've been pretty busy with COVID, but it's still we still want them to go take a look at it when they can. Next item is a request from the Board of Selectmen to see our interest, whether the Conservation Commission has an interest in acquiring 24 Misty Meadow Road, the Warren Pole Farm, or the Parlee property on Pine Hill. Either purchase them all or some portion of them. You all have the material. I would just say in my review that in Misty Meadows, it's a 41-acre site that's being sold for almost $1 million. But in that agreement, the Conservation Commission will get 26 acres of that 41 acres. And if you remember the site as you go in Misty Meadow Road, it's the open meadow to the right-hand side that goes from Pine Hill Road out to Mark Stott's house, effectively. So that's the proposal on that one. Parlee, remember, these are all being offered to the town because they're all under Chapter 61A, and they have to offer them first to the town. Henry Parlee's site is a much smaller site where he's putting a solar farm. It's behind his house. It's pretty small. I don't know anything more about it than that. I think he's got some contracts underway. I don't think he's got any solar panels. He can't have solar panels on the site until he knows what the town's going to do to it. It's on the other side of Misty Meadows, behind his house. It's a strawberry farm now. And the last one is the 51 acres, not 50, is it 51? No, it's not 54. I'm going to use it. 54 acres known as the Warren Pole property that goes from Boston Road to Parker And on the other side, it goes to Bartlett and Acton Road and to
Hall Road
Hall Road
and Fay.
and Fay. There is a sliver of, it's a beautiful piece of land. Most of you have been out there. It's got a lot of hay fields on it. It has direct access to Parker and therefore across the street to the Wright Reservation. There's 2 parcels that are being offered for sale. The smallest one is really a sliver that allows direct access to Parker and then over to the Wright Reservation. No decision has been made as to who would manage any of those properties. The tenor of the discussion is that Conservation would have Misty Meadows and Warren Pole, but that decision hasn't been made. My personal opinion is we should pass on Parlee. We should pass on Misty Meadows because we're going to get 26 acres. And we should tell the town that we think it should acquire the Warren Pole Farm. I guess they've started an appraisal process. That's it right now. I don't know what the results are. Let me go around the board and see what the commission thinks. Chris Tamula.
I really don't have an opinion, to be honest with you.
Okay. Billy Vines.
I agree with you, Dave.
Mark?
Yeah, I think the Warren Pole Farm would be the one I'd like to see go after. I think the one up on Misty Meadows, that's going to be in our favor no matter what happens there. And the Parley property, I don't really have any interest in that myself, conservation or open land. So I like to see the Warren Pole Farm when we go after.
Chris Garahan?
Yeah, from a real estate perspective, I like the approach with 24 Misty Meadow where, hey, we're going to get 26 acres and it doesn't cost us anything. It's a gift. So I think that's a real winner for us. And then the Warren Pole, I'm definitely interested in that one. And I don't have.
Chris, turn your computer so we can see your pretty face. We're looking at the top of your head.
Is that better?
So put it back. Put it back.
I'm still here.
Put it back. Put it back.
You guys are like so funny. There we go. There's the ceiling again. It's too much. Where was I? Yes. Yes, on Misty Meadow. Yeah. So the 26 acres in Misty Meadow, it's free. It's a gift. Great. Take it. Go that way. Warren Pole. Let's get it. And Parley, I'm not interested in Parley property.
Any other discussion? Any comments from the audience on this item? I don't know that there's anybody there.
Only a few left. Only a few brave
Hey,
souls.
are we televised tonight, by the way? Are we?
We are.
Yeah, apparently. All right. I will entertain a motion to advise the Board of Selectmen and the town manager that the Conservation Commission is interested in acquiring for conservation purposes the parcel known as the Warren Pole Farm and is not interested in acquiring the parcel known as Misty Meadows nor the Parlee property on Pine Hill Road.
I'll make that motion.
Carl makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Let's just leave a note that, you know, our opinion on Misty Meadow is based on the fact that the town would receive a gift of the 26 acres.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agree with that.
And that start thing's still applicable too, right? In the PNS, Dave?
I'm sorry?
The allowance for start, I think it's in.
It's not in this, it's not in the material we got. I understand Mark has a separate agreement with Mr. Doyle. Because he says he's good.
Okay, I thought it was on the purchase and sale here, but maybe not.
Yeah, it is. Page 6, or excuse me, 8 is paragraph 37. The Stotts sewer stub.
No, that's different.
That's different. Okay.
What it says is that You're right, Chris, that the Stotts have an easement for a sewer stub to Pine Hill Road. But the Stotts also need an easement to get to Pine Hill Road on their driveway. And I think Mark has a side agreement with Doyle to buy some land, which is not mentioned here at all.
Okay.
Because it's probably not relevant.
That could be. But he says he's good.
Okay.
So I will end it. I think someone made that motion.
Carl.
Carl made
did
the
it?
motion. I seconded it with
Okay.
the
All right, all
clarification
those in
around
favor,
24.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Chris Scarahan,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin. Aye. Okay, quickly. We have 3 outstanding invoices due Oxbow Associates that were submitted in January, February, and March, and nobody in town hall can find it. Tell your dog to be quiet, Carl. No, that's probably Billy's dog. I suspect the 3 invoices may have got lost somewhere in town hall due to the COVID shutdown. The 3 invoices are for $420, $1,793.48, $261.75. Those 3 invoices with the one which we paid in December totaled $3,500.01. The proposal from Oxbow Associates was for the work to be done was $3,500. So they didn't overrun it. So I would ask.
Over by a penny.
Yes, I don't think
Are you paying that penny, Dave?
Yeah, I'll give that. Can I have a motion to pay Oxbow Associates the total of $2,475.23?
So moved.
By Chris, is there a second?
Second.
By Carl, any discussion?
Yeah. Carl is now me every time.
Looks like a crazy game of Jeopardy.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I mean, all in favor, Chris Tamula?
Chris Tamula, AKA Carl, aye.
Bill Vines?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. And Carl Bischoff?
Aye, aye.
Okay. Good. Next item, there are a bunch of outstanding minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read them? Let me see which
Wait,
one.
we missed something.
What do
We
we
have to
miss?
do
What?
commission reorg,
Yeah, we'll
commission
get to-
reorganization, and we have Bridge Street trees. Which
Well-
one do you want to do first?
What's Bridge Street Trees? It's not on the agenda.
Well, you just hold on to your britches here. Let's see. Do I have a presentation for you?
Oh,
All right, hold on.
I was going for a virtual beer.
It's really not that exciting, but hold
I was
on.
going for a virtual bedtime.
It's pretty, yeah.
I said we'd get over by 10 o'clock.
Okay, hold on. Still rotating, and then I will share it. Okay. Can you see something? Do you see a plan?
No.
Ah. Hold on.
Aren't you a millennial? Like, shouldn't you know how to do all this stuff?
Honestly, I hate this. I just want to get back in the room and stop this nonsense. Okay, now it's paused. Never mind. Anyways, there's about 5 or 6 dead trees at the end of Bridge Street on our property, which property is that? Lime Quarry. Scott Ludwig from engineering went out and determined that they are indeed on our property, and the resident at number 77 is concerned about them falling and hitting his house. Now we have 5 dead trees confirmed dead.
Who's in that house? Do you know?
Mike Teague.
We all know him. Okay.
Yeah. So now we have these 5 determined dead trees determined on our property. What are we gonna do?
Are they in fact going to fall in it? Did Yanley think they are going to fall on his property?
It was Ludwig Scott,
Ludwig, rather.
but yeah, they're huge.
I think we ought to give it to Paul, see if he wants to pay to have them cut down.
That's right. That's what we did last time.
We have to have, yeah, we have to have DPW contract someone, then we have to pay, which we had discussion that it goes through Paul, right? We had already gone through this.
He
Well,
took
hey,
on
I
that
mean, they may not-
responsibility.
DPW might be able to take them down themselves, but
Do you want me to direct DPW to either take them down or contract someone? Or do you want to talk to Paul?
no, Paul, the last time this happened, Paul said it was the town's responsibility.
Right.
I think we ought to notify the town manager that the DPW has ascertained that there are X number of trees that have to come down because they are a safety hazard on Mr. McTeague's property. And see how he responds.
Okay. I'll let him know.
Incidentally, now that when Misty Meadows and Lauren Paul and all that stuff gets taken care of, we're going to take another look at our priorities. You know, there's a very interesting priority abutting the lime quarry behind at McTeague's property is a pork chop property. The pork chop piece goes back to 495 and is not very wide. And on the other side of the pork chop, who's the dentist that had all the real estate in Chelmsford?
Dr. Curry, remember?
Curry.
Roger Curry.
Curry's
I'll take
family.
Roger Curry for 500.
Curry's estate owns a big piece of maybe 10, 15 acres behind Bridge Street and between Bridge Street and 495 and that Alexandria Way. It'd be nice to get a right of way through the back of McTeague's property so we could get into that. So I don't want to have the discussion. We should add that to the list. Did we vote on the trees? I'll entertain a motion that we notify the town manager that there are a number of trees on the lime quarry property which are a potential safety hazard to number X Bridge Street owned by Mr. McTeague. Chris? So moved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Chris Tamula.
Aye.
Bill Vines.
Aye.
Mark Gibbs.
Aye.
Mark Gibbs.
Oh, aye.
Chris Gary.
Oh.
Yes.
And
I was gonna have Tamula do laundry while he's downstairs.
Carl.
Aye.
And Dave McLaughlin, aye.
Our washing machine's upstairs, goofball.
Oh.
Hey, guys, we're televised here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we are.
Riveting TV.
On the minutes, does somebody have a list of all of the minutes that there are 5 of them, right?
2, 5.
Well, I think Vivian had 4 and you had 1.
Really?
Yeah. Vivian, are you there?
No, she's having internet problems.
All right, then we'll defer that.
Yeah, let's table that one, Dave.
Katie, you got anything else?
Yes, Friday I met Mark out at Cushing Place. He had concerns about the way the riprap was constructed, where the culvert is under the driveway. Mark, you want to just, it is on the plans to be riprap, and it's Katie Enright. I talked to her. We can go into this further at the next meeting. I can show the plans and everything, but it's there for velocity purposes in the flood zone and flow from adding those new drainage pipes from the new development. Mark was concerned because it's now like a more cutout area of riprap rather than following what was there. Kind of like a straight wall that mimics the other side of the brook.
Katie, is it clear to Finnegan what was supposed to be done?
We approved the plans with riprap, so we really can't, I mean, the approved plans show what is on site.
Has he's done what was on the plans?
Yeah, there's a riprap area that doesn't really look too attractive, but it is on approved plans.
So it's more, so it's a separate issue now. It's a conservation issue, not an as-built issue.
There's nothing wrong with it because we approved it. It just, Mark didn't like it aesthetically. And he wanted to see if it was on the approved plans the way it's built, and it is. So it's in compliance. Then we have the other issue that Jay Finnegan said he would clean up some of the brook, like remove down trees and stuff and invasives, and he hasn't done that.
Invasives was a big thing there too. It's quite overgrown with invasives.
He actually called us out on a site visit last year sometime to ask if he could remove some of the invasives and the down logs, and we were okay with it. Mark was out there with me, and we were okay with it, but he never did it. But it's nothing we required in the order of conditions either. So I guess we can ask him again in good faith, or direct him to do it.
When is he coming? When is he coming before us for his next project?
I don't know.
In July?
I don't know.
I didn't want to make that hanging over his head. I mean,
well, that's the way you get things done.
The problem is we don't. Yeah, the problem is we don't have anything to say he's required to do it. It's not something that we made a special condition. It's just something he was going to do because he thought it would look nicer. It's not. I don't think it's vital. It's not like obstructing the brook from flowing or causing flooding, but it would look a lot cleaner without bittersweet vines and whatever else is growing there, and the logs down across the brook. As far as the riprap area, I can show you the plans at the next meeting. I don't think there's anything we can do about that. We approved it, or you guys approved it as riprap rather than a natural kind of looking wall.
Well, what we should do is we should approach either Jay or whoever that's responsible for the project today.
Well, I did. I talked to Katie Enright.
Yeah, and what did she say?
It's on the approved plans, riprap.
That was her answer? That's not.
Well, it is.
I know, but that's not the right answer.
What's the right answer? They're not doing anything wrong.
The right answer is, let's see what we can do to clean it up.
That's all.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything wrong.
I understand. I understand they're not doing anything wrong.
Are we talking about the cleanup of the brook or the wall? Because the way the wall is constructed is for the velocity of the flow and the new runoff that's created from the development. If they build the wall straight up, they might cut.
The velocity of the flow is important for flood purposes. All right, but how about this? I'll have Katie Enright come back on July 7th because I don't have the plans right now. Well, and we'll look at the plans and we'll see if they're willing to. She's not too happy with us right now because of Groton Road. So let's be careful. I know that. I know.
Jay would be the better person to approach, would be Jay,
I'll get the plans for the next meeting. You know what'll happen is his new condo will go to planning first, and Jay will be there. And it might make sense for me or someone and me to kind of grab him at the meeting and just chat with him and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I think Jay would be amenable.
Well, I know for the cleanup of the brook, but if the wall was constructed a certain way for stormwater purposes, meeting stormwater standards, then we really can't ask him to change it. Of course not. No,
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
I don't think we agree.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think, Mark?
That's it for now.
Okay. All right. Last item on the agenda is the commission reorganization. We have two officers, a chairman and a vice chair / secretary. Are there any members who would like to be chairman? I would.
I would like to
Only-
nominate
But,
Dave.
but only for 3 more years. I will not do any more than 3 years, and in fact, I may resign from the commission at the end of a 3-year term. So,
I nominate Dave as commissioner.
I second the motion as Dave as chairman of the commission.
all in favor? Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Oh, excuse me. Are there any other nominations? All right, Chris Tamula,
Aye.
I'm making a note, you know. Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
reluctantly. Chris Garrett,
Aye.
Carol Bischoff,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Vice Chair / Secretary. Right now, it's Chris Garahan. Chris, do you want to do it again?
I will serve again unless somebody else wants to do it.
I nominate Chris Garahan.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor? Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin. Aye. Anything else?
Dave.
Anything else? Yes?
The St. John's Church where they installed the new lights
Yeah.
in the parking lot, did we have any concerns with that?
I haven't seen the finished job. Is it finished?
Yeah.
Is it, I haven't even been up there. Is it any good?
It looks fine. They dug right beside the wetlands, a little trench, but it didn't affect anything in the wetlands. They
And the lamps were, where the
up there.
lamps were where the old ones were, right?
They added some, they're adding more lights.
They didn't tell me that. They told me they just wanted to replace the ones that were there.
Yeah, I think they're adding a couple, but I may be wrong. Take a ride out and look. It looks fine. I just wanted to.
Okay. Hey, has Billy Harvey started? Has Billy Harvey
Yeah,
started?
they're working down there today.
Really?
The excavator was down there. They're working down by, well, when I saw him, the excavator was down by that retention area.
Okay, we got a sidewalk
Be careful,
on,
this isn't on the agenda.
what?
It's just not on the agenda, just
It's a point of business. That's
be
all.
careful.
That's all right. It's a point of business. We're not debating.
Okay, I'm just saying be careful.
We got 2 sidewalks on June
Okay.
29th, one at 6 PM at, out at Hart Pond, and then one at 7:15 up at Groton Road. And the next meeting will be July 7th, is that correct?
That's right.
And the meeting after that is
Correct.
July 21st, which
21st.
I may not be able to make. So Chris, you'll have to run that meeting.
Hey, with the Zoom.
With Zoom. And I'm going to talk to Paul about whether, maybe by then we'll be able to have a regular meeting.
Yeah, we'll come in with masks on,
I hope so. I hope so.
Motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
All done.